Hey everyone, it's Tyler Stroke, Universal Rackets, and tonight you have a huge match against your best friend, against your fiercest rival, and you need instant tennis tips to win more points in your big match. If that is you, then this video is for you. We're going to be going instant tips and tricks, regardless of what type of forehand or backhand that you have, for you to win more points. So let's get started. Okay, so the number one thing that I tell players to do in big matches is you're going to hit the ball higher than your opponent. Once again, if you're playing a huge match and you want to win more points instantly, regardless if you have a grandma forehand, Roger Federer forehand, or anything in between, you're going to hit the ball higher than your opponent. What does that mean? If my opponent's going this high over the net, that means I'm going to swing this high over the net. Why do you want to play with height? Why, if you play with height, it's going to be all right and you're going to win so many points and your opponent's going to miss, that your opponent's going to get into a fight and you might lose or you might win because they're going to get a default. That doesn't rhyme. That's okay. But what did I just say? If you play with height, it's going to be all right. If you can hit the ball higher than your opponent, you're going to have more margin for error. You're going to be able to be more consistent and you're going to win more points. So tip number one, write it down, write it down. Bring this out on court, guys. Write a little notepad, right? Write down these things that I'm telling you. Number one, what do you need to do? Tell me right now. What do you need to do? You need to hit the ball higher than your opponent. The second thing that you're going to do, if you can play with spin, you're going to keep the ball in. So number one, if you play with height, it's going to be all right. Play with height, be all right. Number two, play with spin, keep the ball in. A lot of players, they try to flatten the ball out too much. Think about it. A ball that's super flat, that's in 50% of the time, is way less effective than a ball that has a little bit of topspin, that's a little bit slower, but is in 85% of the time. The more margin that you get, the higher percentage that you play with, the more you will have a better chance of winning the points. So what are you going to do? If you play with spin, you're going to keep the ball in. So don't hit the ball super flat. Hit the ball with a lot of spin and allow that ball to go in. By playing with topspin, it's going to dive your balls in the court. Okay, it's going to allow you to play higher, and again, the ball's going to dive. So play with a little bit more spin, and you will be able to keep the ball in. That's number two, okay? Now, number three, all you're going to do is hit a higher first serve percentage. Just like I said with your forehand, a serve at a club level that is 80 miles per hour, super fast, but only in 20% of the time, is way less effective than a first serve that's maybe 50 miles per hour that's in 85% of the time. Higher percentage will win you more points. It'll have you have less second serves. It'll keep your opponent more on your toes. So instead of trying to drill your first serve every single time, like your Roger Federer, add some spin and get that high first serve percentage, okay? Because again, at a club level, no one's going to bang the ball to you. If your opponent is returning the ball and they're not just putting away the ball, that means that you can serve that speed, right? So what I mean by that, if I'm serving right now and I'm serving 40 miles per hour, if I'm serving 40 miles per hour and I see that my opponent is either missing it or not doing anything with it, why do I need to serve 100 miles per hour? If I'm serving 80 miles per hour and I see the opponent bunt the ball back, but then I serve maybe 50 miles per hour and I see the opponent do the same exact return, why am I going to increase my spin? Why am I going to increase my speed and lose my percentage? So try to hit your second serve or your first serve. Try to hit your first serve as your second serve, okay? So we're playing with height. We're going to be all right. We're playing with spin. We're going to keep the ball in, and we're hitting our second serve as our first serve. Now, this is another amazing tip, okay? This will instantly win you more points. A lot of players, Tyler, I can never hit the ball in the proper position. I feel like I'm eating the balls. I suck at tennis. I want to quit. Yada, yada, yada. I can't get to a 3-5. Whatever you say, and it's because of one thing. You guys ready? Are you sure? Are you ready? It's because you're standing way too close to the baseline. Now, you don't have to be Rafa Nadal. You don't have to be Daniel Medvedev or any of them. You don't have to stand all the way back. I think if they actually played on this court, they wouldn't even be on this court. They'd be touching a gate. But a lot of players, they recover to the middle of the baseline. So they recover right here, okay? Look, I'm on the baseline right now. Well, people always tell me to recover. I want to recover right here. No, you don't, because think, if someone hits you a normal ball and you recover around here, if someone hits me a normal ball and I recover back to the baseline like this, what's the first thing I have to do to get in position? What's the first thing? If the ball's up here, if they hit a normal ball, what's the first thing I have to do? I have to move back. And whenever I move back, remember, you are on defense. So instead of standing right at the baseline because your old coach from 20 years told you to, what are you going to do? You're going to take a couple steps backwards. You're going to recover here. So now if someone hits you a normal ball, what are you going to do? You're going to be able to move up to it and get in your strike zone. Again, you don't have to stand at the baseline. Start a little bit behind the baseline and you will win way more points in tennis, regardless, again, if you have the Roger Federer, grandma forehand, or anything in between. Now, Tyler, someone on the comments is going to say, well, I was standing behind the baseline and some people won more points against me because they hit short. Okay, well, if your opponent hits short every single time, clearly you're not going to stand all the way behind the baseline, because then what's going to happen? You're going to have to run up. So if you see your opponent consistently hit short, okay, maybe you're going to stand a little bit inside the baseline. But if you're playing a player that hits a normal neutral ball, you're going to stand a little bit behind the baseline. Now, the last and final thing that I'm going to leave you with, so you can instantly go out and win more points regardless of what type of ground strokes you have, all you're going to do is you're going to be on your toes. You are never going to let your heels touch the ground. I want you guys to say it right now. I so-and-so, I user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or Roger Federer fan 6, 7, 8, am never going to let my heels touch the ground in a tennis match again. Once again, I want you to say it. Put your tennis racket in the air right now. I, whatever, am never going to let my heels touch the ground in tennis again. A lot of players, they can't get to the balls because they're not, it's not because they're not fast enough, it's because their weight's in their heels. When their weight's in their heels, watch, I'm going to have so much trouble moving to the ball. But when my weight's in my toes, now I am able to push off to the right or to the left. Again, weight's in the heels, I'm not going to be able to go anywhere. But if my weight's in my toes, if my heels are never touching the ground, now I'm going to be able to go out and move to the balls at a way faster rate, right? So if you guys can use these tips, again, play with height, it's going to be all right. Play with spin, you're going to keep the ball in. Hit your second serve as your first serve. Higher percentage is greater than power. Stand behind the baseline and have your heels never touch the ground. You will instantly be able to win more points in your match. Now, if this helped you, if you guys have any questions, comments, or if you guys absolutely hated this video, or if these tips helped you, please let me know in the comments below. Make sure to follow me on the gram, Tennis with Tyler. Make sure to check out my Instantly Improve My Serve and Instantly Improve My Forehand ebook. We have a sale right now. Click that link in the description, and I'll see you guys next time on court. Have a good one and happy hitting.